This Week in Startups is brought to you by AdRoll, the most widely used retargeting platform in the world with over 25,000 advertisers. Get started with a $100 credit at adroll.com/twist. And GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing. Visit gotomeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and sign up for a 30-day trial. Today, it's the risky and rewarding business of investing, as Jason talks with David Gluck, producer and general manager of the Speakeasy, the first theater project in the U.S. to offer equity crowdfunding.
So this is the new feature that the SEC brought out on May 16th. It's just about 4 weeks old, and it allows any non-accredited investor in any state of the nation to invest in startup companies through a qualified crowdfunding portal. So WeFunder is one of those portals. It's a startup on its own right, and it's right here in San Francisco, and they're great guys. And they actually came and saw our first show, and they've been to our promotional events, and it's great to work with a local team that already knows and loves your product.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. We have a huge treat for you today. I'm going to talk a little bit about theater. I know you all know I'm a huge fan of theater. I'm going to sing some show tunes, and we're going to talk about some innovative stuff happening in theater. One, immersive theater, and number two, crowdfunding. And crowdfunding, as you know, has become a huge way for people and doing a startup to raise money. But it has been changing over the years. And one of the things that's happened is you can now do equity crowdfunding. You can raise money from people who are not accredited investors. Obviously, you've been able to raise money from accredited investors for some time under a bunch of different rules. And the world is changing. The United States is evolving. And today on the program, I've got David Gluck with me, who's doing some really innovative stuff here in San Francisco with a show called The Speakeasy. And you can see The Speakeasy SF.com. You can see his work, thespeakeasysf.com, and you can see them at wefunder.com/the.speakeasy. Welcome to the program, David Gluck.
Thank you, Jason.
So you are a theater producer, and you're doing immersive theater. Explain to the audience what this immersive theater is, because I keep hearing about it. I know there's some big show in New York that everybody talks about. I can't remember the name of it.
Should we name it?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. It's Sleep No More. So it's the 800-pound gorilla in our category. But immersive theater has been around for a while, but it's especially now it's really catching on as the hottest wave in theater at the moment.
What is immersive theater?
Good question. So immersive theater, there's no separation between the audience and the actors. There's no stage and there's no seats. A producer will build an immersive theater environment. It could be anything that you can imagine. It might be a space station. In our case, it's a 1920s speakeasy right here in San Francisco. So you build an immersive theater environment, and then you populate it with performers, and the audience members are free to move throughout the space and encounter the performers in various rooms and in various places, doing a wide range of performance types.
I remember something called Tony's and Tina's Wedding in New York.
Yeah, so
was that the original immersive?
It's one of the originals. So the great thing about Tony and Tina's Wedding, or one of the things that makes it unique, is that it's largely improvised.
Right.
So the actors who are the guests and the principals in this wedding bring you in as family members and talk to you as if you're dear old friends or long lost family members. And so it's very highly interactive and very improvisational.
Where did this emerge from? Is there a history earlier than Tony and Tina's Wedding? Because I just remember Tony and Tina's Wedding because they used to hire a lot of I wouldn't call them B actors, but I think even the reality star sort of crowd in the 90s or 80s, whenever that came out, I remember the Howard Stern cast members would be on it.
Sure.
And they'd be like, oh, go see Stuttering John at Tony and Tina's Wedding or whatever. And I was like, what is that? And they would throw him, I guess, in to get people to
so that's an old trick that's been around for commercial theater forever, where you've got a show that's been running for a really long time, and it's just sort of juice it. You bring in the biggest name that you can get.
Right.
I'm not a theater historian. I can't tell you exactly when immersive theater started, but it's been going on for a long time. There was a great production in LA for many years called Tamara, which took place in a hotel. There's been great productions in San Diego and, of course, New York and London. Right now, it's huge in New York and London.
There was a Star Wars one in London.
I saw that one.
You did see it?
I did. I was there in October.
What's the name of that one? Who does that one?
So that group is called Secret Cinema, and they take
Secret
movies
Cinema.
and then they create immersive theater environments around the movie. So they also did Back to the Future. Right. They were very well known for that.
The one you saw...
It was The Empire Strikes Back.
Right. Now, I heard that you walk through like the Millennium Falcon or the Hoth
It's great.
area.
It's great.
How does it work? Like, are they telling the entire movie sequentially, or do they just move you from area to area? Because I think Chamath, actually, from Social Capital Partners, a friend of ours on the show, actually invested in that.
Hopefully, your colleague did very well on that. It was a heck of a lot of fun. It was a heck of a lot of fun. So it's a long experience. It's about 5 hours long, and towards the end of it, they show the movie. But before that, you
at the end of it, they actually show the movie.
They show the movie The Empire Strikes Back. But they've created an enormous immersive theater environment that has different phases. So you do take an Imperial transport to the planet Tatooine at a certain point towards the beginning of the experience. When you arrive on Tatooine, it's an enormous industrial space that's been converted with tons and tons of sand, and you get to meet Luke's uncle, and you get to
Uncle Owen.
You get to interact with the Jawas, and you have a little bit of a mission that you have to complete, which is that you're supposed to trade seeds for computer parts and eventually gain passage off planet. There's a cantina.
Neat.
And they have a live band, and it's terrific. There's food stalls, almost like
How many people?
1,500 audience members.
What?
At a time. 1,500 audience members.
1,500. That's a lot of people to corral. How big is the space? 100,000 square feet?
It is something on that order of magnitude. It's enormous. It's
and it
really
costs
enormous.
a lot of money, right? $300, $200?
Something like that. I don't remember.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. It's not. You come in costume. They give you strict instructions about what you're supposed to look like. I was supposed to look like a galactic explorer, and went to the Camden Market to get exactly the right gear. Wow. So the experience starts before you ever show up.
Wow. Amazing. So you got the bug for this, and you decided you would make your own show a couple of years ago, and you did the Speakeasy.
Yes.
But you decided you wanted to fund it in a non-traditional way. So explain what happened the first time around you did the Speakeasy.
So it's a pretty capital-intensive project because you have to take a space and completely transform it. So there may be a lot of physical renovations, as well as if
rent.
There's that, and there's they tend to be very, very large cast shows. So it's not like a 2-person Harold Pinter play.
Right.
So they're very capital-intensive. So we thought. We come from a small theater background. I'm working with Boxcar Theater. The project is the brainchild of Nick Olivero, who's the artistic director of Boxcar Theater and the creative director of this project. And he actually conceived of this project many years ago, back in 2006, and it was germinating for a long time. He got a writing team together in 2012, and they started to flesh out the stories. And we produced it at the start of 2014. At that point, Boxcar Theater had never done a project with larger than a $50,000 budget. And we thought this would be an $80,000 to $100,000 project. And very quickly, we realized that the scope of it, the epic scope of it, was much bigger than that, and that what we really should be thinking of is $250,000 or more. And so this was beyond the ability of Boxcar to fundraise. Boxcar was a traditional nonprofit organization and received a lot of its support from philanthropic sources. But this was clearly, it was 25 times more than they had ever fundraised in a single year. 10 times more.
Yeah.
So we decided to explore other ways of raising the capital and take a page out of the Broadway and off-Broadway playbook and attract theater investors who would be putting money forward with the hope of a financial return.
Right.
It was one of those projects that we thought would have that potential to make money. And they don't come along that often in the theater business. So when you see one, you grab it.
Right. So how does the structure work? Because I'm an angel investor, like I invest in things, you get a percentage of equity. How does it work in theater? Because I know that it's different in the movie business. You sort of get a preset return on investment. It's sort of capped or pre-negotiated. Is that correct?
Well, in the commercial theater business, like a typical Broadway theater deal, the net profits are divided 50-50. The producers keep 50% of the net profit, and the investors get 50% of the net profit.
Okay.
And this is regardless of how much it costs to capitalize a show. So if you're doing a big budget Broadway musical, it might be $10 million or more. If you're doing a smaller off-Broadway play, it might be $300,000 or $400,000. Typically, this is the starting point for negotiations. It's a 50-50 split with producers and investors.
Okay. And what is like one of those off-Broadway shows if it becomes a smash hit?
So I worked on the musical Chicago in the London production, the West End production. And I can tell you that the profits were in the hundreds of millions of pounds over the 15-year run. Now, Chicago is an exception to the rule. Right now, it reigns as the longest-running Broadway musical of all time, and clearly not every show experiences like that level of success.
Right.
But it's still a very attractive game to play. There's going to be a big hit or a couple of big hits every year, and people want to bet on that pony.
Okay, so you did a crowdfunding, or what would you call the first raise you did for the first version? It
was a private placement.
Private placement.
They didn't have equity crowdfunding. This was in 2014. It didn't exist. We did a Kickstarter, but we only raised $5,000. And there's no returns.
You get a T-shirt or tickets.
Right.
So nobody was interested on Kickstarter. Right?
Not really.
Right.
Not really.
But when you invited accredited investors and did a private placement, you have to be responsible for making sure they're accredited. They have to fill out a form. Correct.
Correct.
And so that limits the number of people who can participate. Correct.
Absolutely.
So when you did the first one, how much did you raise? What did the investors get back?
So it was a $250,000 project. Our goal was to raise $200,000. We were a bit untested and green at this.
Yeah.
We raised $60,000. So we only accomplished about 30% of our goal. We financed the project. Nonetheless, we bootstrapped it into existence through a variety of things: fundraising parties, the Kickstarter, and managing the life out of our cash flow. But the show was very successful. We ran 75 performances. Every performance was sold out.
Wow.
It was a 5-month duration, and we were able to recover or recoup 100% of our investors' capital and return it to them at the end of the production run, along with a 56% return.
So if somebody put in $10,000, they got back
$15,600
in a year.
In a year.
You can't get those kind of returns anywhere else.
Yeah, you really
but it could have gone to zero too.
Yeah,
nobody could have shown
right.
up. It could never have crossed the return.
There's a risk-return ratio that is probably about right for theater. It's very risky business.
Does the 50-50 split happen after you recoup the costs, or does it?
Yes, it's 100% to the investors until you recoup the costs.
Got it. So even if you only made 100, people would have gotten back whatever 20 cents on the dollar, or whatever, 40 cents on the dollar.
As long as we didn't get wiped out, they would have gotten a portion of their original capital back.
Why not run it for 750 shows then, or was it just you had the building for that long?
It's the real estate situation in San Francisco. So we were in an unprotected lease. We were in the broadly speaking, the Twitter corridor. This is shortly after Twitter moved in.
The tenderloin.
Yes.
The Twitter loin.
And the landlord yanked the building out from under us.
Okay, when we get back from this very important partner break, I want to show everybody the video, and we'll listen to it for those of you listening on audio, of the new show you're doing, and talk about why you're here, which is you have figured out how to do with the new equity crowdfunding rules from the, what do they call that act? The Jobs Act.
The Jobs Act. Yeah, Title III.
Title III. We're going to talk about Title III. Of all the people to have on to talk about Title III, I got a theater guy. It's pretty ironic, right? Like you'd think I'd have like somebody like making the next drone.
Yeah,
but sometimes, you know what, a theater guy, don't discount it because it's innovative people. So it makes sense to me, actually. We're going to talk about how that's going and how the other 97% of Americans who don't have millions of dollars in the bank or don't have $500,000 or whatever it is a year to qualify as accredited can now invest their own money, just like they bet on blackjack in Vegas, when we get back on This Week in Startups. Hey, everybody. We have a great new partner here at This Week in Startups, and it's adroll.com. Adroll.com. And what they do is retargeting. What is retargeting? That's when you visit one website, and then, if you're the website owner, you can retarget ads to that individual when they're on other websites. We've all seen this. You search for something on a website, and then when you're on Facebook or on Google or some other site, you see an ad that's not generic and boring and has nothing to do with what you're interested in, or ugly. You see things that you're interested in. This is great for the consumer because they get ads that they wouldn't be interested in, and it's great for the publishers because the publishers get to make money from ads that are targeted. And of course, it's great for the sites and the startups. One of our startups, as you know, I'm an investor in Rapify. James Heller, who is the founder of Rapify, says AdRoll is an integral part of his customer acquisition strategy. It allows us to continue to garner impressions long after the initial customer interaction. For example, somebody comes to the Rapify website. You can now then keep retargeting them and sending them different creative ways to engage with, say, their product, Rapify. It's also one of the most cost-effective tools to bolster any integrated marketing strategy. What he means there, James from Rapify, is, hey, it's super effective. If somebody comes to your website, you know there's someone interested. It's like they walked into your store, but they left. They weren't ready to buy, but they wanted to check out your store. Well, you know what? The second, third, fourth time, fifth time, that could be the charm. And this is why those ads are much more targeted and better for the person who's running the ads. It's basically more efficient for the entire ecosystem when it comes to it. And AdRoll is the most widely used retargeting platform. If you haven't heard of retargeting, look it up. They have over 25,000 advertisers using adroll.com, and they convert window shoppers into buyers. As I'm saying, it's super efficient for everybody involved in the ecosystem. And you'll get access to 500 plus ad exchanges, including the Facebook and the Google, as we call them. And you're going to reach potential customers across all devices, browsers, and apps. This balances usability with powerful performance. Machine learning and data science is used to bid on ads quickly and effectively. And so your budget's going to go further if you're a startup company or a marketer. And that eliminates all that wasted ad spend. You don't want to spend money on people who are not interested in your product. If they would never come into your store, why would you spend money on people who are not interested? I mean, think about it. Retargeting is just so brilliant. And it's a really new scientific way to do marketing, and people love it. People on all sides of the transaction love it. Established people like Pantheon and Doc Martens and thousands of emerging businesses are using AdRoll, and you can get $100 credit. That's right. You'll get $100 credit to get started as a new customer at adroll.com/twist. I know a lot of you are using it already. If you're already using it, you don't get that $100 ad credit. But if you're new customers, you're going to get $100 credit just for trying it by going to adroll.com/twist, adroll.com/twist. This really works. Retargeting is one of the great, amazing innovations of the last 10 years, and AdRoll does it really well. Go ahead and check them out, adroll.com/twist, and welcome to the This Week in Startups family. Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. This is the program where every week, twice a week, I sit down and I talk with people who are doing innovative stuff in the world. Sometimes it's around financing startups, sometimes it's the startups themselves, sometimes it's hard technology, sometimes it's journalists and bloggers or thinkers and writers. All of it is around entrepreneurship and startups. If you haven't subscribed already, go to thisweekinstartups.com and put your email address in, and then we invite you to the secret private live shows we do, and you get one of those seats and you get to meet Eric Ries and all these other powerful VCs and angel investors. It's pretty dope. Go to thisweekinstartups.com and put in your email address, and you will get secret invites to meet and greets with wildly powerful and interesting people. My guest today, David Gluck, is the producer and general manager of the Speakeasy. You can get information about the Speakeasy at thespeakeasysf.com. thespeakeasysf.com. Now, when we left our hero, that's you, David, you had done the first show, you returned some money to investors, people are very happy. Are these investors like old biddies from up in Pack Heights, like 90-year-old women who are like, I want to see a great show?
Yeah, it's probably the people who watch the show. It's a lot of people in the tech industry, and a lot who fans of experience, not necessarily theater lovers or professional investors, but people who seek out unique experiences in their community, love living in the San Francisco Bay Area because of the cultural diversity here and all the different things you can do with a Friday or Saturday night, and somehow got connected with what we do and were really turned on by it, and then realized that there was an opportunity to participate financially as well as, and our investors have a lot of fun with it. They come to our parties. We know them all by name. We take care of them at the bar. And
it's nice. You get a little VIP treatment. It's like having a little piece of a restaurant. You always got a reservation.
It's very similar to that. It's very
Let me ask you a question about this immersion theater.
Yeah.
Immersive theater.
Right.
There was a thing at the Speak No More. Is it Speak No More?
Sleep No More.
Sleep No More. Speak No More. Sleep No More in New York. I haven't gone. Where people were getting pickpocketed. I believe it was Sleep No More. I got to get a little fact check from Emmy Warren and Jackie. Is it true?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. But people thought it was part of the show. So some person went to Speak No More.
Sleep No More.
Sleep No More. Sorry to Speak No More people. Maybe
the
No More show
Maybe
in New
they
York.
prefer to be Speak No More.
And they got robbed, and they thought it was part of the show. And then they went to the producers after. We're like, "Hey, where's my wallet? Can I get it back?" The show's over.
That's sort of an only in New York type of.
We're like, no, we didn't take. But I have a segue question for you, which is, do people go and because there's a lot of people in the world who they're not brave enough to be actors or whatever.
Yeah.
But they like to interrupt shows. Like, the person who's like, like somebody's a heckler at a comedy club who needs to be the center of attention. Yeah. And like, they're not brave enough to be a comedian, but they're brave enough to interrupt the comedian's professional show. Or like, you're on a tour.
Yeah.
I was on a tour the other week, and there was like guy on a tour who had to make a joke when the tour person's making a joke, and I'm like, we didn't come here to hear you. Do people do that at your show? Do they come and they're dressed up and then they act like they're one of the actors?
Not if we can help it. I mean, we have a special spot in the Speakeasy for them. It's sort of a padded room. We do everything we can to prevent the audience members from hijacking the show. They're
not allowed to do that.
They are not allowed to do that. There are ironclad house rules. One of the house rules is do not engage with the performers unless they engage with you first. And we actually do. We have a space in our environment called the chill bar. For people who need to be the center of attention, they can go to the chill bar, they can talk as loudly as they want, they can act out their own scenes. They're not going to take away from the experience from anybody else.
Got it. But you do have this phenomenon.
It happens. It's inevitable.
And do the people come dressed up like they're going to a speakeasy, flapper gear, or whatever?
It's one of the delights of it is that, San Francisco is such a dress-up town, so people will take any opportunity to hit the vintage clothing stores. So
I'm going to come to this. My wife loves to get. We went on a costume party. We have a friend who throws a lot of costume parties. Which I got to say about the costume parties, we take a little tangent here. People like when we do a tangent. It's really a little bit, I'm trying to decide if it's obnoxious or delightful when somebody does one of these parties, because we keep getting invited to these like dress-up parties.
With a specific theme?
Yeah. And it costs a couple $100 for each of us to get dressed, and then sometimes they're in some great location, so you got to travel there. I'm like, this is costing a lot of money to get dressed up in flapper gear or whatever. Yeah. But anyway.
It's an expensive hobby.
It's a little bit of
our show is not cheap either. The tickets are $100.
That's cheap, I think.
That's all right.
But when you think about it in terms of the experience, if you go to a Warriors game, you're spending $200 or $300 for
Easily.
2.5 hours. If you go to the movies with, whatever, it's plus popcorn, it's going to be $40.
Yeah, and
here you're talking about people who are actually live.
Yes, and we have 35 performers plus a 7-piece band.
35? This is a whole thing.
Yeah, and there's also a casino inside the experience.
Oh,
we have blackjack, craps, and roulette. It's for entertainment only. We're very clear. We're very clear on the regulations. But so you come in. We have our bar. We have killer cocktails. We have a great cocktail menu. A great mixologist.
I got a super great idea for you. Your next show.
Yeah.
You should do like a revival of Hair or like some 60s show. It doesn't have to be Hair, but it could be like inspired by kind of thing, but like something in the 60s. And then everybody who comes could just like trip on acid. You wouldn't know who's on acid and who's the performer. It could just become like a total San Francisco hippie thing.
So people come, they drink the cocktails, they go into the casino, they have a good time with the gaming.
Yeah.
Blackjack, craps, and roulette. They go, there's a cabaret show. We have a vaudeville, a comedy duo, jugglers, ventriloquists, all of that. And then there are 35 actors walking around.
You do the burlesque thing too? Because that's always
there's a little bit of that.
A little burlesque.
There's a little bit of voyeurism in the show for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it is San Francisco. I'm always like, whoa, hey.
And everybody does dress up.
Right.
And when you first go
if you come and you don't dress up, you're kind of a douche, right?
It's true. It's true.
Do people do that? They show up like wearing khakis?
We put them in a jacket and a bowler hat if they do.
Yeah.
We take care
it's
of
like that kind of situation.
Yeah.
That kept happening to me in New York. I was in New York, and like people would invite me to the Harvard Club, and I'm too stupid to know. Like I'd come and they would put me in a blue jacket and a red tie. Yeah. I'd literally be wearing a T-shirt. They put a red tie around your neck.
It has to be that way.
They're like, oh my God, look at this idiot.
And then you can't tell who the performers are and who the audience members are. It's part of the delight.
It's very cool. Okay, so hey, let's just take a moment here to play the video. I have the video here on the YouTube, Speakeasy fundraiser video. I'm going to play it right now. For those of you who are listening, you can just type in the Speakeasy fundraiser video onto YouTube and find it, or go to thespeakeasysf.com. It's going to be about 2 minutes. Here we go.
Speakeasy is an incredible immersive experience where you're transported back in time, back into the 1920s. What we've done is we've created a fully realized club that would have existed in San Francisco in 1923. You're free to explore, as you would in life. It's like a choose-your-own adventure. You can go to any of these rooms. You can have a drink at the bar, you can actually gamble, or you can sit in the cabaret and watch a show. We ran the show in 2014. We did a 5-month run. We had incredible success. We ran 75 performances. We completely sold out across the board. We actually got to the point, which is so exciting. We were sold out up to 10 weeks in advance. So we spent about $250,000, of which we had investors for. Not only did we make all the money back, but we also gave all of our investors a 56% return, which we were very excited to do. Everything about this production is scaled up from the first production. We've gone from a little over 3,000 square feet to just under 10,000 square feet. We have a permanent home. We have a long-term lease. We're putting $2 million into the venue. It's everywhere from the wallpaper to the carpet to the tile on the bathroom floor. We want to create a very period authentic space that people can get lost in. It's like stepping back in time to another world. I think there's something about people telling you how you should live your life, and the rejection of that, the rejection of saying, no, you don't tell me how I live my life. I'm going to choose to live my life the way I want to. And the show that we've been working on and creating has really taken that spirit and that idea. And for me, the show is about enjoying the time that you have while you have it, enjoying the people that you're with. At the very least, have a drink and dance a little bit. Listen to some good music and enjoy this moment that we call life.
The Speakeasy is now raising money, and let's talk about this next point of contention here. You are now going to be able to raise money through WeFunder. I guess WeFunder is supporting equity crowdfunding. So how does this work?
So this is the new feature that the SEC brought out on May 16th. It's just about 4 weeks old, and it allows any non-accredited investor in any state of the nation to invest in startup companies through a qualified crowdfunding portal. So WeFunder is one of those portals. It's a startup on its own right, and it's right here in San Francisco, and they're great guys. And they actually came and saw our first show, and they've been to our promotional events, and it's great to work with a local team that already knows and loves your product. Okay,
so we have a lot of entrepreneurs who are listening. What does it take to do something like WeFunder? What's the deal? How do they charge you? How do you charge the people? How does it work?
They make it...
Obviously, you have to make that promotional video.
You need
that costs a couple of grand, $2 grand.
You need a video, and then they do an interview with the company founders where they sort of elicit all the required information that you need to properly fill out the SEC paperwork. They filled out the SEC paperwork for us. All we had to do was review it and sign it.
Great.
And they took care of all the filing. So they made it super easy. They even designed the profile page. They've got very easy to use templates. They've kind of made it. They've made it very accessible to any startup that wants to use it. It's important to know a couple of things, though. You can't raise more than $1 million through equity crowdfunding. It's vastly superior to some of the other crowdfunding mechanisms, including SEC's Regulation A, because it supersedes all blue sky laws. So you can fundraise simultaneously everywhere without having to register state by state.
Got it. And this was, for people who don't know the background, there was this Jobs Act, which was to promote more business, more activity. And this is after the financial crisis, when the guys on Wall Street decided they were going to do all these crazy derivatives or whatever of mortgages. They crashed the economy. Everyone remembers in the Great Recession. This Jobs Act was supposed to spur people to do more investing. The SEC approved it years ago, but it took a long time for them to get it out there. Now it's out there. And what do you have to pay to a platform like WeFunder or whoever? They take 10%, they take 5%?
So WeFunder takes 3%.
Only 3%?
That's right. And I think
sounds pretty reasonable.
It's very reasonable. It's better than, I think, some of the other platforms out there.
Yeah. So they take 3% of whatever you raise.
That's right.
So if you're raising $500,000 for this, or
yeah, that's right. You're
going to try to raise $500,000. So let's talk about 15 grand.
Yeah, it's very, very affordable. I mean, it's less than the lawyer's fees to prepare an SEC filing of any other type.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do they get some equity or warrants in the company?
Not in our deal.
Huh, interesting. And so people come in, they spend $5,000. What's nice is you give people crowdfunding, Kickstarter type perks.
Benefits, sure.
Yeah, so you got perks as well. So it says here $2,000 gets you access to the pre-sales ticket period, 1 year complimentary access to Club 1923 membership, a discount coupon, any merchandise purchase. And then if you spend $5,000, you get access to the exclusive pre-sale period, 2 years of complimentary access. What is this Club 1923? Is it a bar?
So Club 1923 is our underground 1920s theme party. We've been doing it for about a year and a half now, and we keep it off of the web, and we don't advertise it. It's strictly a word of mouth phenomenon. It's most Friday and Saturday nights. It pops up in a variety of locations, sometimes in abandoned buildings, sometimes in other strange places, people's homes, sometimes in the back of a converted bread truck. And
how many people come to something like that?
It'll be anywhere from 20 to 120,
really?
depending on the venue and depending on the night. And we do our same formula, which is killer cocktails, casino-style gaming, and cabaret entertainment.
So if you put in $5,000, you get 0.1% of net profit share per $5,000. So that's 1/1000th of the profits. If it makes $1 million, you would get back 10,000. Is that right?
No, it'd be 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, it's different than a lot of startups because this company is engineered so that it's profitable from day one.
Got it.
Right? We're going to have operating profits from the moment we open.
Got it.
What we don't have is we don't have the potential down the road for a big liquidation event, a 10x type of capital appreciation, acquisition, or IPO. That's not this sort of company. So what it is for investors, it's a play on cash flow and ROI. So
are you going to do multiple productions, or is this for a one production deal? Or is this going to be like a multi-city thing if it goes well, obviously?
Yeah, if it goes
Am I investing in Cirque du Soleil or one Cirque du Soleil?
It's one Cirque du Soleil. If it does well, we will roll it out in other cities, but it's going to be separate production companies. It's going to be separate investment opportunities. And part of that is actually to protect the San Francisco investors from dilution, because when you roll it out someplace else, it's going to be capital intensive. It's going to require another raise. We don't want to dilute our local investors.
Got it. All right. When we get back from commercial break, I want to ask you sort of what do you need to do to make this crowdfunding successful? What are the techniques to get non-accredited investors as opposed to the people you did the first time, the accredited investors? How are those two groups of people different when we get back on This Week in Startups? Hey, everybody, let's take a moment to talk about one of my favorite products that I use at least 1 or 2 times a day. It's called GoToMeeting. It's time for you to step up your meeting game and take your meetings to the next level. You can easily collaborate with your clients and colleagues from anywhere, and you can be the meeting MVP no matter where you are. Whether you're working from home, you're on the road, at an airport, or even in the back of an Uber, dare I say. You can start meetings easily with one click, and you can meet with your team from anywhere, anytime, even from mobile devices. And I tell you, the mobile device stuff, it just works. I've been in meetings on my iPhone, while using my laptop, while using an Android device. Sometimes I log into a meeting twice, and you can use your webcam to see your colleagues in beautiful HD. It's the next best thing to being in the same room. In fact, it feels sometimes like you're in the same room. You can share your screen so you're all on the same page, and you can go ahead and swap who the presenter is. There's also the ability to chat, and you can actually, if you're the manager, I'm going to get in the weeds here, but I do like some very specific features that one of them is somebody on my team, I don't want to say their name, Luke, doesn't know how to use a headset properly, or is always calling in from a windy street, and they don't mute their phone. So you're on this call, and somebody is like in a wind tunnel. Well, you know what? When I'm on my desktop, I just click and I turn off their microphone myself. I love that feature that when I'm hosting the meeting, I can turn off individuals' microphones if they're just too klutzy to actually turn it off themselves. It works, and it is a brilliant way to keep the meeting moving and efficient. So you can send these private chats and video links. GoToMeeting will help you step up your meeting game, and let you do your best work. So here is your call to action. Now is the time to put on your best performance. Be the next meeting MVP. Start your 30-day free trial at gotomeeting.com. Just click on the button that says try it free. That's gotomeeting.com and click on the try it free button. Go ahead and be that meeting MVP like I am. You're going to love the product. And of course, feel free to thank at GoToMeeting on your Twitter handle, or thank them on Facebook, because they've been really great about being a partner with this program. And I am a paying customer. In fact, I've got two accounts in my company because everybody uses it so much. It's so efficient. It works so well. Thank you to GoToMeeting for making a great product. Go to gotomeeting.com and click try it free. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest is David Gluck. He is the producer of the Speakeasy here in San Francisco, the speakeasysf.com if you want to get some information about it. And if you're here on vacation or coming in to visit our fine city, sounds like a pretty good way to spend a weekend. How many nights a week do you plan on doing the show? Or?
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and every other Sunday.
Perfect. So
starting August 12th.
Oh, so it's right around the corner.
Yeah, 10 weeks from now.
10 weeks from now. So, you guys are raising money at the same time as getting ready.
Yeah, we're building a plane while we're flying it.
Wow.
We actually had our first rehearsal yesterday. The 35 members of the cast assembled for the first time, and we are off and running. The show is going to open with or without you.
Yeah.
As an investor, the show is going to open.
So, with the cost of doing this, do actors who are in these kind of things do it for the money, or they just do it for the joy of it? Because it seems to me you're on a pretty tight budget here. Yeah. And the 35 actors means it's not like two people like you're saying. So, hey, it's getting diluted, 20 times what a two-person play would be. Is the actors just do it for the fun of it?
They really do. I mean, San Francisco is a great theater town. There are tons of theater companies, and it's a mecca for actors. I mean, creative people of all kinds flood into San Francisco for everything that we have to offer, especially cultural diversity. So there's a very deep and rich pool of actors here, and there are a lot of companies, but there are very few sort of living wage career jobs as a theater actor in San Francisco.
Are a lot of these people working at a .com or an internet company and then do this on the weekends and leave work early?
Some of them absolutely are. Some of them, we've had people who work for game makers or who work for creative agencies, as well as your typical struggling actors who work as bartenders or cocktail servers.
Is San Francisco just way too expensive to do this kind of stuff?
It's getting harder. We've been casting the show over the last year or so, and it's been harder and harder and harder. Many of the actors who we saw 8 or 10 months ago have left the area because of the cost of housing, and now
they're out in Berkeley, they're out in Oakland.
No, they've left completely. They've not only
totally thrown the towel.
They've even left the East Bay because it's too expensive there as well. So people who we would like to cast in the show who have just fled due to the cost of living.
It's crazy. This town is. I mean, you've been here for a while.
20 plus years.
It is a little bit of a bummer that this town has not figured out housing and transportation. New York City has this great transportation system. Los Angeles has really doubled down. You can now go from downtown to Santa Monica on the subway, or whatever they call light rail. They just keep adding stations in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And here, and in Los Angeles, there's just 50 neighborhoods next to each other, so you can just keep adding a neighborhood if you had a thing. Here in San Francisco, the NIMBYism is horrific, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're getting into politics now, but I agree with you. I think that...
Well, let's go there.
I lived in London for a couple of years. As I said, the transportation system there is outrageously good, and we didn't have a car. And when we moved back to San Francisco, my family and I, we're going to be a non-driving family. We're going to protect the environment. We're going to take public transit. And that lasted for about 6 weeks. And we were so frustrated with Muni that... we gave in and we bought a car, and then within a year we were a 2-car family. So even if you have that intention, the obstacles are so great to doing the right thing in San Francisco.
It's so hard here. I mean, I know you can't say rough things because you got to deal with the government. I don't have to deal with anything. Nobody's inspecting anything I'm doing. These people are completely incompetent and corrupt in some cases. Nothing is getting done.
Yes, every group of supervisors, every mayor vows to fix Muni. That never happens. It is a big frustration for anyone who's paying attention.
It's unbelievable. I have to say, I've lived in 3 amazing cities. I'm super blessed. I spent the first 30 in New York, incredible city. I think it's the greatest city in the world. I lived in Los Angeles, which is just amazing in culture and nature and everything. And then San Francisco, amazing, diversity, nature, all those good things. This city, compared to those other two, is so dysfunctional. It's unbelievable. Los Angeles and New York run like clockwork. They're really effective governments. Giuliani, Bloomberg, Garcetti, these people keep the trains on time. They keep things moving in the right direction. They handle housing. I mean, they just move the ball forward. Here, it's the opposite. Everybody's bought and sold, and nobody will build any new housing units.
I don't really know what the answer is.
I do.
Yeah?
MayorJason.com.
There you go.
I'm giving fair warning right now. If this doesn't get better, because I'm only going to work for 5 more years, David. I got 5 years of angel investing left, and then I'm done. Hopefully I make enough off the Speakeasy to, just retire. But I'll do it 5 years from now if this isn't fixed. I'm
Good.
literally going to do it because I got the domain name Mayor Jason, and I think that's probably 90. In my mind, that's about 90%. But this is going to be my platform. You tell me if this is a good platform since you've been here for a long time. I'm an outsider. I don't care. I don't know anybody here. I'm going to add, for every term I'm in office, I'm going to add one station to either end of the Muni. I don't know how many lines there are, 5, 4, whatever the number of lines are, every single term, one on either end.
Double down. Make it every year.
I think it's not possible.
Not possible.
But we'll see.
But
we could set a stretch goal.
We do need a lot more.
And you know what else? No more parking on the street in the high traffic areas.
Yeah.
These people double parking on Union Street. I don't know if you see these idiots on Fillmore double parking. It's like, what are you doing?
Or Franklin and Goff, which are supposed to be the arteries to get people north and south. And
it's going to be like, I'm going to add 3 times as many cops. We're going to tow every car until people stop double parking. It's ridiculous. You double park in a city? Who lets that happen? Too laissez-faire. All right. Now you're doing the equity crowdfunding.
Yeah, you wanted to know how it was going, the equity crowdfunding.
I did. We're going to get back to it. There's about 80% of the audience who loves when I go on a tangent. There's 20% who email me, David, and they're just like, why are you talking about this stuff that's nothing to do with technology or fundraising, whatever.
And what percentage of the guests freak out when you go on a tangent?
I would say it depends. I can always tell by looking in their face because sometimes that gets into diversity or whatever, and there's some people who are just like, I really don't want to talk about diversity. I'm a white male. Oh my God, please don't bring that topic up. So when you raised in the first time, you had this very successful return of 56%. You only had 15 investors.
Yes.
So that means they're all putting in 10, 20, 30K.
It was even less than that. A unit was $4,000.
So it's easy peasy. It's a small number of people putting in, what I would consider modest amount of money as an angel investor, but a civilian might consider a lot of money.
It was WTF money for everybody.
Yeah. It's like a vacation for them. Yeah, take one less vacation, whatever, take a flyer. So a month of rent. But this time around, you're going to have many, many more investors if you hit your goal. Because you're trying to hit 1 million. That means 200 investors.
We're
500.
No. So we're raising $1.5 million. We did a Series A, which was a private placement.
You did?
The unit price was $30,000.
Wow.
We raised $945,000 through Series A. So we had 30.
You raised a Series A from proper VCs or angels?
It was the same type of people, accredited individuals. As we were talking about, people who work in tech, people who work in entertainment in the city.
So this has been validated. You raised $1 million almost.
Yeah.
So then you're topping off with the equity crowdfunding.
Right, another $500,000 from the equity crowdfunding.
So at $5,000 a unit, it could be 100 people. At 2,000, it could be 250 people. So you've got to talk to a lot more people. Is it worth it? And how do you justify all that time versus, raising 25K at a pop?
Yeah, so I have to tell you, Jason, it's not going exactly the way I thought it was going to be going when we started. So we went live on the first day. On May 16th was when these regulations were available for the first time.
It was brave of you.
We went forward. We went live on WeFunder on that day. And what I really thought was going to happen was that it would be an avalanche of money and I wouldn't have to do anything else.
Right.
I was hoping that there was so much media attention and there was so much demand and this Jobs Act.
Yeah, no brainer.
4 years earlier, and people are just waiting. And when the platform finally went live, people would be shopping like crazy and spending like crazy. And there would be dozens or scores or 100 new companies offered on that day. It was not to be. There was, I checked the numbers. There were only 16 or 17 companies that went live on the first day.
On WeFunder.
On all the platforms.
There's 4 platforms, I think.
There's a couple others.
There's 4, I think, is the total number. Jackie, tell me who the 4 are. I'll look it up. Thanks.
One of them is Seed Invest.
Seed Invest is
one of them. I don't remember the other ones.
Yeah, because the 4 of them had to register with the SEC.
Yes, they had to be approved by FINRA. They had to be approved by FINRA.
I wonder how much that cost. Maybe I'll do that myself.
Be a platform?
Well, I don't want to be a platform. I just want to have control of my destiny. So I have a big following, and then I've got the second biggest syndicate on AngelList, and I think it's the most active. So I got jasonsyndicate.com, and I was like, let me just start collecting names, like I wrote in that piece you referenced earlier when we were on break. And I've got 70,000 emails of people who trust me, who like what I do, and then 1 million people watch the show every month or more. So if I said hey, this is a good project, I think people will, and I'm putting my own money in, people would be into it. So I'm thinking about it, but I don't know how much it costs to set up that FINRA stuff.
Talk to the WeFunder guys.
I got to talk to the
They know everything.
Guys. They must have spent $1 million setting that up.
I think they did.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It was something on an order. They told me something like, we just paid our lawyer's bill for, it was a big number.
Yeah, it got to be $1 million. So you launch, and there's only dozen or 2 dozen people
Yeah.
who've also been brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
Were they all like, just to be candid, were a lot of them, did they seem like wacky projects that couldn't be funded through the normal route? You had $1 million in accredited people. Did it seem like the people who are going for funding, like I saw like some wacky car that looks weird?
There were both ends of the spectrum. There were other offerings that had raised multiple millions through private placements or through other mechanisms. Medical device companies, other entertainment companies. But then there's also some pretty oddball stuff. One of the offerings that's doing really well right now are these alcoholic juice pops that the company founders are these world-renowned DJs, and so it's like a juice pop that has 5% vodka in it or something like that, and it's for raves and outdoor music festivals.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
I know, exactly.
What could go wrong?
Exactly.
You're tripping on Molly and you're having vodka ice pops. What could possibly go wrong in the
under
110-degree
sun Coachella?
No, I mean it's nuts. People are dying out there. These poor kids are like they have no idea what they're doing.
They're doing well on their raise, but that might be one of those more non-traditional ideas that you're talking about.
This is what I fear about the Title III stuff is negative signaling. Because I saw companies that I had met with that I would never invest in, and I'm not going to point them out because I'm an entrepreneur. I don't want to be. I never like to speak derogatory of another entrepreneur unless it's like Theranos and they're doing something that's like insanely bad behavior. But I just thought, wow, these are people who couldn't. If everybody who's on this Title III stuff are people who couldn't normally raise, obviously you raised $1 million outside of this. You're pros at what you're doing, it seems. But if it's the funding of last resort, you're kind of bucketing yourself with the other people. Do you have that fear?
A little bit.
Yeah.
There's also a sense that it may get harder as equity crowdfunding ages because it may generate public skepticism.
Yes.
If a lot of these ideas are too far out there.
Yeah. And the platforms are probably desperate to find people to do it. And the people who it's easy to raise money for are like, well, why would I deal with this?
Yeah.
But you chose to deal with it. You must have a thesis of why this is a good idea.
For us, it was really obvious because it's all about general solicitation, right? Which you're not allowed to do under a private placement. So we had a very strong mailing
Generally
list.
soliciting being, for people who don't know.
It's any kind of advertising that there's an offering going on.
Yeah.
For a private placement, you can only talk to people you already know, and you can't even email your own list. So we had a list of 13,000 individuals who had come and had seen the show or had been to our Club 1923 events and were already fans. They were already fans, and we could not even tell them that we were raising money.
Because it would be a general solicitation.
Right.
Now that's changed.
Right. So that unlocks our own list. So that was reason enough to do it. And then the idea that there would be people browsing. The platform WeFunder has its own list of 56,000 people who've registered as potential investors, and so then to have access to that group of people also was another reason.
So you raised 100. That took 2 weeks to do that?
Yeah. So like I said, it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go.
You thought it'd be gangbusters. It was a little slow and steady.
Yeah. So we've been raising slow and steady. We've been raising about $5,000 a day. We've been up for 3 weeks. We just cracked 100,000. I
see that 21 investors, 101, 500. Congratulations on the first milestone.
But I thought it was going to be wholesale instead of retail. You were talking about the intensity of effort, and that Series A raise of $1 million came through. We had on the order of 15 or 20 investor events where we met with 2 or 3 investors at a time, and we pitched the project and we showed them the venue. And it was all of 2015 we were doing investor events. It took the whole year to raise $1 million. And I was hoping that this would change that, and we could just send out a few emails and the money would start coming in. It's not that way.
Do these people need more hand-holding and have more questions than the accredited?
It's a similar amount. It's very similar.
Humans are humans.
Yeah, it seems that way.
This delineation between rich and poor that the government set up to protect people in the 30s or whatever, it isn't there.
Yeah, the dollar amount doesn't seem to make a difference. The people who are considering $2,000 investment have the same concerns and the same level of they need some level of handholding as the people who are considering a 50 or 100,000.
What's the main concern? That just making sure that you're not criminals, or making sure that your idea is solid, or vetting you?
There's a credibility for sure.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work to seem legitimate. No, we are. It's not just seeming legitimate. We are legitimate.
But it's important. People need to have some idea that this is not a fly-by-night operation. Which, to be honest, like if you look at some of the other ideas, like vodka ice pops, to me sounds like, oh yeah, that's my cousin's idea, and my cousin might have the Ralph Cramden style, have like another idea next month, and then not want to do vodka pops. No offense to the vodka pops guys. I mean,
right.
I'm kind of ragging on the DJs with the vodka pops. I'm sure they're delicious.
I'll let you know. I'll be first in line. I'll let you know.
So do you have to talk to them on the phone? Do they call you? Or they want to trade emails?
We do a lot by email, and we do a lot of in-person, face-to-face stuff. So we're still doing tours. I did a tour Saturday evening. Had 15 prospective investors on the tour.
See, that's good because when you have a group dynamic, that I think actually gets people excited. Like I went to the kid who did Avenue Q. You know that show, Avenue Q in New York? So that person who wrote it, I understand he also wrote the Book of Mormon, but he's uncredited in it. But he makes a lot of money from it. He had a new show, and he held screenings. Somebody invited me to one about like the street punk kids kind of thing. And they were inviting basically investors to go see previews of the show and then I guess raise money.
Well, I think it's a wisdom of crowds thing, right? These things have their own momentum. If these guys think it's good and it's worth their time to be here tonight, then probably I should take a serious look at it. Sort of the online raises tend to have a momentum, and the more you raise, the easier it gets to raise money. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Now that we've cracked 100,000, maybe it'll get a little
I think
easier.
that is the case. Like, it's impossible to fill your round until your round is filled, and then it's impossible then you're oversubscribed, right? So like what I always tell people who are raising money is to keep the threshold low for how much you're raising, but keep the upper limit of what you're allowed to raise in your documents high. So in other words, if you wanted to raise $1.5 million, tell people you're raising 500, and then in the documents you have the ability to go up to 1.5. But your goal is to raise 500. That gets you through a year as a startup. Let's say you're making software, to write software. Yeah, we're going to raise 500, but the raise won't be committed until we hit 500, not 1.5. Because then if you raise 900,
you don't look successful.
So you want to be oversubscribed. I noticed this with AngelList. Every time one of my deals gets oversubscribed, I start getting all these emails from people. How do I get in? Then I have a deal that's at 180 and it's 90% of the way there. And those same people are not banging the door down. This is weird. Like it's almost like they're not evaluating it based on the merits of the deal, or they don't have an investment strategy. They have a herd mentality, which I guess is reasonable to a certain extent. But if I'm putting my money in and you think I'm a good angel investor as a syndicate lead, you should just go with it. They don't have syndicates in WeFunder, huh? It's just direct from the founders to the audience.
They have another mechanism. We're structured as an LLC. If you're structured as an S Corp or a C Corp, there is some sort of syndicating mechanism, but I'm not up to speed on it.
Yeah. Do you have to trigger a certain amount to close it, or you can close any amount? You can close 100, you can close 200, 300?
You can close it at any amount.
Cool. Awesome. So what did I miss? Do we have to plug anything here? How do people get involved? I'm super fascinated by it. It seems like very innovative to me.
So the show itself is very creative, and we try to be creative on the financing side as well. I guess the important plugs are things like tickets go on sale.
Yes.
On June 13th to the general public.
I'm going. I'm going to buy tickets.
Which is just a week from now or so. Investors get a pre-sales period.
Oh, really?
Yes, so they get access.
So if it sells out, or when it sells out, they get the thing.
Yep.
What about like a backstage thing or meet and greet?
We do
that kind of stuff.
We do all that. That's all part of the perks.
Yeah.
We have this great perk, which is we've poured $2 million into the space, creating this incredible immersive theater environment. This 1920s speakeasy, but
it has a bar, right?
It's got 2 bars.
Wow.
It's got 2 bars, and so for our investors at a certain level, we give you the space to hold your own event. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah. So you can have a
private wedding or something. So you can be an event group to Did you buy the space, or you're renting it for 10 years?
We've got a 10-year lease with 3 5-year options.
Wow.
So we're
so if this hits,
we're going to be
20 years.
Yeah, we'd like to. We hope at least 5 or 10 years to be doing this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting too. The Battery, the private club.
Sure.
So a lot of these like private clubs are becoming a thing. It'd be very interesting if those bars. Do you have a liquor license for those bars? I take it.
Of course.
So you could have the bar open during the day, and if you wind up having 500 investors,
Yes.
You could have it be like a open for lunch kind of thing or open for business meetings.
I love that idea. So
Yeah.
that could be our Club 1923 members. You know, all investors are members, and then you might be able to buy in if you're not an investor.
Yeah.
And now this is a private club for you and your guests.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it's just interesting since you have a physical space. Where's the space located in San Francisco?
It's on Broadway between Stockton and Columbus. So it's right in the heart of the action, what we call the crossroads of culture, history, and entertainment right here in San Francisco.
Stockton and Columbus.
On Broadway.
On Broadway, so it is right in what we would call
Beach,
North Beach, Little Italy, whatever.
North Beach and Chinatown.
Yeah, and that's actually where there are a lot of neon signed vaudeville establishments.
Yes.
Where dancing occurs.
Adult entertainment.
So
we're on the other side of Columbus from that.
You're on the other side heading west.
Yes, up towards the tunnel. Up towards the tunnel.
Oh, I know exactly where you are because I like Chinatown a lot.
Do you ever go to Sam's Burgers?
No.
Incredible late night spot.
Sam's Burgers.
Yeah.
Bookmarking it.
We're right next door to it.
Is that on Broadway?
It's on Broadway.
I'm going to bookmark that because
really good burgers.
A lot of times I go to the Battery or I do my CNBC hit, and I walk home to Pack Heights. It's like 1.5 miles, 2 miles. I'm like, you know what? It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, get an hour walk in. It's nice. I walk home.
Steep hill.
You ever walk through the tunnel?
It's a little unnerving.
It's a little unnerving. You've done it. Yeah.
I've done it.
I've walked the tunnel. Now I walk over. You can walk over and get that big hill.
If you have
it's good for the Fitbit.
Oh my God, the cardio workout.
Exactly. That's one of the great things about San Francisco. All right, listen, David, I wish you all the success in the world with your crowdfunding and your artistic endeavors. This is truly innovative on 2 levels, the immersive stuff, which I think is fascinating. By the way, here's the story I can pull up for those people who are wondering about spotting a thief in a room full of masks that sleep no more. So if you go, please watch your wallet. They arrived at their appointed time, about 8 p.m. on Monday, and showed their tickets to the doorman. You walk in, one of the guests, Charlie, blah, 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 everyone explained, everyone gets playing cards. They call you by your card, blah, 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 blah. His partner and friend paid about $400 for the tickets. Wow, expensive. We had no idea what we were getting into. Something approaching a real-life locked room mystery. Setting was a warehouse in Chesley known as McKindrick Hotel. Sleep no more, blah, 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 19th Hotel. They were seated. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Everybody's got masks. Very eerie. I'm trying to figure out the part where he gets, I felt someone's hand touch my hand. I thought it was a performer. He realized his wallet was gone. I didn't say anything, he said, still following the rules. I think somebody stole my wallet, he said. Is that part of the show? It was not.
By any chance, was he an out-of-towner?
I have a feeling. I mean, people, it's so funny in Manhattan, like these out-of-towners are like literally like in khakis, looking up, holding a map. And like, it's like they have their fanny bags in their wallets. I mean, New York there's less robberies going on. And I'm just like.
It's still the big city.
How are you guys not like getting robbed like left and right? Be careful, people. Keep your wallet in your front pocket, if anything. Everybody go to WeFunder.com. the.speakeasy, WeFunder.com, the.speakeasy, and go to thespeakeasysf.com, thespeakeasysf.com. Thank you to our partners for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. It's important to sponsor the art, including the artistry you hear on This Week in Startups. You can follow us at TWI Startups on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow me on the Twitter and Instagram at Jason, Jason. That's me showing off, David. You have at David, right? No? You're on Twitter?
Not even.
You're not even on Twitter?
Not even on Twitter.
I think you get
I'm a little bit stuck in the 1920s mentality these days.
You guys, you have a strong Instagram game or no?
No, we have.
Get strong on the Instagram and get strong on the Snap. Only because I think it opens you up to a younger demographic who might really dig this. And Snapchat and your thing is so perfect for photos. Just literally get an intern to take pictures of everybody on Instagram and then ask them what their Instagram handle is and then CC them in the comments. Yes. Then they will get a notification on their Instagram that a picture of them has been posted. So you know how you go to these places and they charge you for a picture? Just do that for free. Somebody, some intern running around, hey, would you like our photo? I'll post it to our Instagram and send it to you. Boom. People love that. All right. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. And I just want to take a moment to thank my friends at Salesforce. They have been a tremendous partner of This Week in Startups and the Launch Festival, which, as you know, has the mission to support founders and inspire innovation. And I wanted to talk a little bit with their head of startups, Ludo Ulrich. you are the head of Salesforce for startups.
Yes, startup relations, the way we engage with startups, yes.
Right. Now, and thank you. You guys have been so great. You come to all the events we do. You buy lunch for people. It's very nice. I just want to tell you, I thank you on behalf of the startups, because we do all these events. They cost a lot of money. You do your own huge event.
Yep.
You understand how much it takes, and we can't do it alone. So just from me, on behalf of the startups, thanks for being so generous all the time. And, we got to have Mark Benioff come last year. That was a real treat.
Yep.
And then I just had twins, and we spent a lot of time at the hospital, the UCSF. I'm sorry, I'm new to San Francisco. And I go there, and Mark Benioff, the CEO and founder of Salesforce, built a hospital here. I believe Ron Conway helped as well. Mm-hmm. They were both involved in this project. What an amazing gift to San Francisco. I don't know if you've been to it.
I got a chance to actually give birth to my second child there a year ago. So
isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
What a gift to the city of San Francisco. People talk about tech companies and the city and, if you just think, Mark Benioff is not a retired guy like, Bill Gates, and I don't know how much he gave, but it was a tremendous gift. And this building is like going to the Four Seasons.
Yep.
So just to Mark, if he's listening, thank you. For San Francisco and parents, it's literally like going to the Four Seasons. It's unbelievable.
That's why we all need to support entrepreneurs. This is the result right there, So
it's like, it's interesting you mentioned that, Ludo. I always tell people that the best form of charity that I've seen in my lifetime, and I think anybody's seen in their lifetime, is the people who do extraordinarily well doing startups and being entrepreneurs. Eventually, at some point in their life, if they wind up hitting a huge home run like Salesforce or Microsoft or Google, or even Facebook, look at Mark Zuckerberg's recent gift, they wind up doing so much good in the world.
Yep.
So it turns out capitalism and entrepreneurship, it has this wonderful end game that I think people didn't actually anticipate. But as you and I know, startups incredibly hard.
Yep.
Most fail. And you have a service, Salesforce for Startups. Why did you create this? Why is this important to the Salesforce family?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Salesforce has been founding on the idea of that, customer success. That's something that we've been repeating since the beginning of this journey that brought us to this success right now. And we want to share that with the startup ecosystem, right? And by the way, when I say ecosystem, we also want to foster an ecosystem around us, right? So that's kind of the idea behind Salesforce for Startups: how to explain what we're doing to the startup community, how to build, how to grow, and also how to give back, but also how to we can help some of those companies actually go to markets and deliver their product and services through, for instance, our marketplace, the App Exchange. And last but not least, learn how we can actually give back. Right? There are frameworks for it. I should mention the Pledge 1% movement, which is amazing. So we basically package all that value, all those different work streams into one umbrella. That's Salesforce for Startup. That's a free program that we launched 2 years ago. We have a little bit over 6,000 members in 130 countries.
Amazing.
So it's really how to basically make people understand what they can get from Salesforce and how they can be successful with Salesforce, right?
And so this App Exchange that you have, what types of products and services might one find there, and which startups would do best to list their products and services there, and how are there any kind of great stories of people listing there and then building an actual real business on it? Because I know there's a lot of people who use Salesforce. I don't know what the number of people using Salesforce is, but I know it's millions of people use it. So
yeah.
Are there any good anecdotes of people going on there and getting their first 10 customers, 100 customers?
Yeah, of course. It's happening all the time. We have more than 3,000 apps. We basically call it the Apple App Store for enterprise apps. So you'll find all kinds of companies. More than 70% of our customers already purchase an app. So it's an active community. People buy apps. So you'll find all the way from the traditional extension of Salesforce, like in the sales service market. But you'll find also a very vertical kind of application where, to your point, they literally build their business there. I met a founder the other day. They started building a solution on another platform, and they decided to connect to Salesforce and go big on the App Exchange. And they literally acquired not their first 10 customers, but their next 200 on App Exchange by being intentional about their reviews, intentional about their listing, and it's a very active marketplace.
You also have, I read in the Wall Street Journal just I think last week that there's an incubator and a fund.
Yeah.
is that an extension of this group, I guess, or a separate group? And how does that work?
Yeah, so we are different groups, engaging with startups, but basically we're doing three things. Right? One is we're educating, evangelizing, and helping uncover those opportunities for founders, which is why we love so much Launch Festival, because we can do that at scale, and the founders are literally curious and they want to learn how to engage all the way from, is it just an API integration, or am I going to become a customer or partner? So that's Salesforce for Startup. We can do that at scale. But the one thing we're really particular about is as well, going deeper with some companies. So my colleagues from Salesforce Ventures have been very active in the market. We're one of the most active corporate ventures group, right? More than 150 investment over the last 5 years, et cetera, et cetera. And indeed,
also a lot of acquisitions.
And acquisition as well on the M&A side, right? Indeed. And so on the fund side, we indeed announced the Lightning Fund. So it's a $50 million fund that we announced to basically invest in our ecosystem. And the end goal is really about fostering that ecosystem I'm talking about on our platform, obviously, as a key focus. And also we announced an incubator. So it's going to be a physical space in the Bay Area. We are working through the details. It's a very recent announcement, and I'm glad you caught last week. We got a lot of press, and so stay tuned. Hopefully we'll work with your own incubator, right?
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I think one of the great things I've seen in the last couple of years is that the big companies that have already had great success. And it's one of the wonderful things I think about the technology and specifically the Silicon Valley, San Francisco scene is there's a real spirit of working together. Even though there's a little bit of competition sometimes and people overlap on feature sets, there is generally this cooperation, co-opetition, or growing together without even an expectation of any payback or return. When you look at this and Salesforce involvement in startups, do you guys actually lose money in the short term on this sort of effort? And it's like an investment for you guys and maybe some long-term gain?
We don't look at it at, losing money or whatever. Obviously, I do marketing, so I'm a cost center. But, I think the idea behind it is like, we know it's critical to have an ecosystem. So any spend there is like a good expenditure, as a matter of fact. We learn so much. I mean, fostering an ecosystem means also we can learn from that ecosystem. We can indeed invest sometimes, make acquisition. But I think the whole idea is like, we want to be hands-on. And to your point, this collaboration and stuff, I think a lot of startups, when you talk to them, they get a lot of benefits from my team and from the way we engage with them with, basically the people behind it and the affiliation to the brand. So I think that's really what's behind this idea of an incubator is like, how can you be, affiliated with the Salesforce brand, and how can you, accelerate your success basically in a matter of months?
And when, if just thinking about it logically, if you wind up making one investment or one acquisition out of all these years of work that you've put into the startup ecosystem, if you just hit one, it pays for everything.
It does.
And so that's one of the great things I think about what's happening right now is a lot of the big companies are starting to look at startups and say, hey, there's as many smart people or more outside of our building as there are inside of our building.
Indeed.
Just on a statistical basis, there's so many people out there doing great work. We have to be involved with them.
We have to. And more importantly, Jason, one of the reasons we're doing that is because our customers are asking for it, right? You ask about the App Exchange. Why do we have this thriving ecosystem that, came out? It started actually 10 years ago. Just because our customers are asking things that we don't do. So we encourage actually those companies to build that. We give them a go-to-market. And our customers are happy about it, right? Specifically when it comes to vertical or, niche scenarios that we'll never do. It's kind of a no-brainer. So it's kind of the vision behind it.
And so people can go to the website right now. The website is at startups.salesforce.com.
Absolutely. So it's free and open program. Any startups can join, any tech startups can join and get some of the value. The URL is simple. I have the page right there. When you log in, basically, so it's a simple website.
I pulled it up myself here, and you can actually say, I'm interested in being part of the startup community. And you basically walk people through a very simple form. And when they submit that, what happens after that?
Then they're joining basically, and what happened is you get access to a dashboard where we show them some sort of journey they can go through, and it starts with building, discovering.
Show us on your site.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you have it pulled up already.
So if you log into the website, once you one of those 6,000 companies are there, you see a journey. We basically show you what you can do next with Salesforce or in general as a startup, obviously.
So brilliant.
And so they can register the startups. We see as a very quick step, like the idea of giving back. So we educate them how to do that.
Pledge,
Exactly. Following
Which
the
is
steps.
You're going to give back 1% of your earnings, 1% of your equity, 1% of your time.
Product, time, and equity, or you can have your own flavors, but this whole idea of the 1-1-1 model, and we try to make it very simple to swallow, and it's like bite size. It's not overwhelming founders.
Right, you're just making a pledge. You don't have to really think about it. It's not like some legally binding concept. You're going to get sued or something. It's just you're making a pledge out of the goodness of your heart to give back.
Exactly, and it's easier to do that at the beginning when it's 1% of zero for everything, obviously.
Sure.
And so we encourage our partners to actually encourage their companies to do that as well.
Yep.
And then of course we get into some of the products, right? I mean, we're a product company, so a lot of people limit Salesforce to Salesforce automation and the CRM flagship product, but we have a bunch of different products that, guess what, talk to each other in terms of selling, obviously, marketing, customer service, Desk.com, Pardot, Heroku on the platform side, which is a very popular platform from developers also, is one of our products. So we expose those products in a contextual way so that founders can basically start using them in the right order, so to say, and based on the scenario. Are you more of a consumer, SaaS company? We're trying to do that product discovery for them.
Got it. Well, listen, it's just amazing how well thought out all this is and how engaged you are. I know just personally, I see you out there at everything. I don't know if they've cloned you.
That means you're there too, Jason. But
well, that's true too. Fair enough. But I mean, I don't know if they've cloned you or not, but every startup thing I go to, you're there.
Yeah.
And I see how you interact, Ludo, with all the different startups. You give your time. I see it. You're tireless and you're indefatigable about it. And I have to say, kudos to you. Just on a personal level, it means a lot because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I watch you out there doing it, and I can tell the spirit is you really want to help people.
Yeah.
And you really get a thrill out of doing it. So kudos to you on a personal level.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from you, Jason. I know you have the same spirit. I know you're very outspoken in helping founders and supporting founders. I could have stolen your tagline, frankly, when I started this team 2 years ago. And I think I would share that not only with my teams but the broader organization. I think I found when I joined Salesforce, I spent 10 years at Microsoft before.
Yeah.
I used to work for
they do a great job too,
which was a non-profit in its space. So my bar was high in terms of caring about entrepreneurs and startups. And I'm surrounded by people who are like that, who are like-minded, who are ex-founders sometimes. To your point, we acquire founders all the time. And so I'm really hopeful about how Salesforce can contribute to that ecosystem. So I'm lucky enough to be the face at many of those events, and
you're building a big headquarters. Is that how right here in Soma? How is that project going? When does that? Because I drive by it once in a while. I walk by it. There's going to be a Salesforce tower.
Indeed, very iconic building.
Very iconic. Beautiful.
I'm seeing it grow as well from the window of some of my colleagues' office. I don't have the view on it myself, but it's going to be pretty interesting. And I think it's all about creating that urban campus, that center of gravity for our company. And guess what? It's very intentional from our side as well. As a result, we can engage, naturally with, San Francisco and the city, and of course its constituents, which include the city, which includes all those, good things that we're doing in the city as a company, but also engaging with founders and startups. That's going to make my job as well even easier to engage with those founders.
I mean, look how beautiful this is. I have it here on my screen. I mean, this is going to change the skyline and be one of the most gorgeous things. I mean, just so beautiful. And I think you guys are half the building, and half the building is...
I don't know exactly the details, but a little bit like...
there's some residential in it, I think. Is that true, or is it all other companies too?
I don't know the details, but we'll have a big portion of it, and obviously it's kind of the center of our urban campus where we have different offices around it.
Different buildings. Interestingly.
We'll make sure we invite you,
if you look at this picture, if we pull it up one more time... Just on that top, just chisel me out a little corner office there. I don't need to be on the top. I know that's Benioff's office, but just about 4 or 5 down. Just get I want a little curved glass.
We'll invite our customers, so we'll invite you, Jason. Maybe we can record an episode there.
This is a great idea. We could close this right now. Let's build a studio. We'll have the This Week in Startup studio at the top of the Salesforce Tower. No offense to my friends at WeWork. You've been so great hosting me here over the years. But, I mean, look at the tower here. Beautiful. All right, listen. Follow Ludo on Twitter, Ludo Ulrich. Ludo Ulrich. Follow him on Twitter. He's good on Twitter. And of course, visit startups.salesforce.com. And Salesforce Start is the Salesforce for Startups Twitter handle. Salesforce Start. Thank you so much for all the support. It's been great working with you guys. Just a great team over there, and the spirit is always in service. And it's something. We've been so lucky to have you as a partner. You've been so active. And really, I always judge the partners we have not just by like if they buy lunch for everybody or put up the banners, but if they actually show up, right? And I can tell you, some people like they're very generous. They buy a space or they put up, but they don't actually show up. They don't actually give the time. You guys give the time, and that is really what startups need. Is they need that time from people who can help with the resources and the advice, and now the fund and the incubator, even better. All right, listen, thank you, Ludo. We could talk for hours. Everybody go check out, again, one more time, startups.salesforce.com. Thanks for coming,
Thanks
Ludo.
so much, and see you at Scale and Launch Festival for sure.
Yes, there are going to be 2 more great conferences. Scale is going to be in the fall. Now, for people who are wondering, last year we had over 4,000 people at Scale. This year it's going to be like more like 1,000 or 1,500. We're only inviting founders who've raised an angel round or a Series A. So we're tightening it up a little bit, and there'll be 54 talks that are all based on how to grow your company. And we rank all of them. So you have to, if you're a speaker, you have to do a good job. And this year we're going to release all the videos. So even if you're not one of the 1,000 or 1,500 selected based on the venue, we're going to make those videos available because a lot of people want to do that. So it's going to take a little editing on our part. And then, of course, in the spring of next year, we'll have Launch Festival. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Salesforce SaaS Startup Founders Guide provides key go-to-market plays and business strategies that will help you grow. Download a free copy of the guide online or from your dashboard once you are logged in at startups.salesforce.com.